Welcome to the deep dive. Um, Today, we're going to be taking you on a journey into someone else's world.
Okay,
Their sonic world, actually.
sounds good.
Yeah. Imagine getting a peek into years of someone's listening journal,
Mm.
where they've documented every sound that caught their attention, how it
Wow.
made them feel, and even the memories that those sounds sparked.
Interesting.
It's like we're eavesdropping on their ears.
It is fascinating
Yeah.
because it reminds us that we all experience sound differently,
Right.
even when we're standing in the exact same place.
Totally. Okay, so let's dive into this listening journal.
Okay.
Right away, what struck me was how this person notices things that most of us just tune out.
Yeah.
They described the subtle differences in the way rain sounds,
Uh-huh.
the specific frequencies of airplane engines.
Wow.
They even talk about the rhythmic buzzing of hair clippers at the barber shop.
That level of detail suggests they're really practicing active listening,
Yeah,
making a conscious effort to tune in to their sonic environment. It's like they're training their ears to be more aware.
I love that.
Yeah.
Training your ears. You know, I'm someone who always has music or a podcast playing,
Yeah.
so I probably miss a lot of interesting everyday sounds.
Right.
This journal is making me want to pay more attention.
I think we can all learn from this listener's approach.
Yeah.
By tuning in more closely, we might discover a whole world of sonic details we've been missing.
Yeah, that's true.
What really stood out to you as you were reading through the journal?
Well, the connection between sound and memory really fascinated me.
Okay.
For example, there's an entry where they describe hearing a wattle bird sing
Uh-huh.
and instantly being transported back to their childhood summers.
Wow.
They describe the specific memory in such detail, it's like you're right there with them.
Sound has this incredible ability to bypass our rational mind
Right.
and tap directly into our emotions and memories.
I know.
Think about a song that takes you right back to a specific moment in your life.
I know exactly what you mean.
It's almost like a time machine.
It's so true. I have this one song that always reminds me of my first heartbreak. As soon as I hear it, it's like I'm 16 again,
Right.
feeling all those same emotions.
And this listener isn't just connecting sounds to personal memories.
Right.
There are entries where they reflect on how certain sounds evoke a collective memory or a shared experience.
Yeah.
For instance, they describe the sound of a church bell as a sonic thread connecting generations.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's like how certain sounds can transport us not just through time,
Right.
but also through culture and history.
Exactly. It makes you realize that our sonic environment is layered with meaning and history
Yeah.
waiting to be uncovered.
It's making me think about all the sounds I take for granted,
Uh-huh.
like the sound of traffic or the hum of my refrigerator.
Right.
What stories are those sounds telling? I never thought about it that way before.
And this listener isn't just passively absorbing these sounds. They're actively analyzing them, reflecting on them,
Right?
and even using them as inspiration for their own creative work.
Wow.
There's this one entry where they describe trying to recreate the sound of cicadas
Oh.
using music software.
Wait, hold up. They
Yeah.
were trying to make music that sounded like cicadas.
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Were they successful?
They described the process as a fascinating challenge.
Hmm.
It involved not just mimicking the sound, but understanding the underlying acoustics and how those sounds are produced.
Wow.
It's like they were trying to reverse engineer nature's sound design.
That takes real dedication. I wouldn't even know where to begin.
It highlights how this listener's approach to sound goes beyond simple appreciation.
Right?
They're engaging with it on a deeper level,
Yeah.
using it as a tool for creativity and exploration.
It's reminding me of how much we rely on sight in our culture.
Yeah.
We're so visually oriented that we often neglect the richness of our sonic world. This journal is like a wake-up call to start paying attention to what we hear.
And what's even more interesting is how this listener documents the changing soundscape around them,
Oh, yeah.
both in their personal life and in the world at large.
Oh, yeah. There were several entries about that.
Yes.
They talk about noticing the increasing presence of air conditioner noise,
Uh-huh.
the impact of noise-canceling headphones on their family's interactions.
Oh.
They even describe getting an MRI as a sonic event.
These observations highlight how our soundscapes are constantly evolving,
That's so true.
influenced by technology, social trends, and even our own changing bodies.
Right.
We're adapting to new sounds all the time,
Yeah.
sometimes without even realizing it.
I never really considered how much technology has shaped my own sonic world.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the digital beeps, chimes, and notifications we're bombarded with every day. It's like
Uh,
a whole new layer of sound has been added to our lives.
And it's not just new sounds that are emerging. There are entries where this listener expresses concern about losing certain sounds,
Oh,
like the quiet hum of their old refrigerator
yeah.
being replaced by a newer, more energy-efficient model that's practically silent.
It's like they're mourning the loss
Uh,
of these familiar sounds.
Yeah.
I've noticed that too.
Uh-huh.
A lot of modern appliances are designed to be quieter,
Right.
but sometimes I miss those old comforting hums.
It raises the question of whether we're losing something valuable in our quest for a quieter world.
Hmm.
Are we sacrificing sonic richness for efficiency and convenience?
Yeah,
Something to think about.
definitely. It's like we're so focused on eliminating noise pollution
Right?
that we forget that not all sound is bad.
Yeah.
Some sounds can be comforting,
Right.
even essential to our well-being.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is where the listener's observations about silence become really interesting.
Hmm.
They describe how their perception of silence has changed over time, particularly as they've started experiencing tinnitus.
Oh, yeah, I remember those entries.
Yeah.
They talk about how they used to crave silence,
Uh-huh.
but now they find it almost unsettling because of the ringing in their ears.
It's like their internal soundscape is now competing with the external world,
I can imagine.
making true silence impossible to achieve.
That must be incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
It's like you can never truly escape from sound,
Right.
even when you're in a quiet room.
And yet, amidst these anxieties about hearing loss and the intrusion of technology, there's also a sense of wonder and curiosity in their writing.
I noticed that too.
They start to explore the philosophical implications of sound,
Yeah.
pondering the very nature of listening and its connection to consciousness.
It's like they're moving beyond simply noticing sounds
Right.
to actively engaging with them on a deeper level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Trying to understand what it means to truly listen.
And that exploration leads to some really fascinating insights.
Yeah.
Especially when they start experimenting with new technologies,
Uh-huh.
like spatial audio and artificial intelligence.
Right.
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What kind of experiments were they doing with those technologies?
Well-
And what did they learn?
Let's dive into that after a short break.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before the break, we were talking about how this listener starts exploring sound through technology.
Right.
Even experimenting with AI like ChatGPT.
Yeah, they were curious about how AI, which doesn't have ears or senses, would conceptualize sound.
Right.
They asked it things like, what are some amazing sounds? Or what's the difference between listening and just hearing?
It's funny to think about asking a chatbot about sound.
Yeah.
Did ChatGPT even have any insightful responses?
Surprisingly, yes.
Oh.
It pointed out its own limitations, that it can only process text, not actually experience sound.
Right.
But when pushed to be more creative in describing sounds, it came up with things like a pin dropping in complete silence, or a Geiger counter detecting radiation sounds that are statistically unusual or unique, even if ChatGPT can't hear them itself.
It's like it was drawing on its vast database of information
Right.
to come up with sounds that are objectively interesting, even if it doesn't understand them subjectively.
Exactly. And the listener makes this really insightful connection to poetry.
Right.
They suggest that both AI generating text and a poet writing about sound involve a kind of blind reasoning. Meaning is created even without direct experience.
Whoa, that's deep. So they're connecting artificial intelligence, poetry, and the act of listening.
Yes.
It's making me think about how we create meaning from things we can't fully grasp.
Right.
Yeah.
It raises questions about the nature of perception and understanding.
Right.
But this exploration of technology doesn't stop with AI.
Yeah.
The listener also experiments with spatial audio,
Huh.
specifically the AirPods Pro.
Oh, I've heard those are amazing.
Yeah.
What was their take on the spatial audio experience?
They describe it as incredibly immersive.
Okay.
They talk about watching a video where the voice seems anchored to the screen, while the ambient sounds create the illusion that you're actually in the room with the speaker.
That sounds incredible.
Ugh.
It's like virtual reality for your ears.
They even mentioned taking off the headphones to double check
Wow.
that the sound wasn't actually coming from their phone.
Oh.
But then this experience with immersive audio leads to some reflections on the isolating effects of technology.
Okay.
They talk about how their daughter constantly wears noise-canceling headphones, creating this prosthetic listening that both connects and disconnects her from the world.
That's such an interesting paradox.
Yeah.
On one hand,
Yeah.
it gives her control over her sonic environment, maybe helps her focus or relax,
Right.
but it also creates a barrier between her and the sounds,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even the people around her.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And this leads the listener to reflect on their own teenage years. When headphones were an escape into the world of music, they talk about how their secondhand stereo system was like a portal to another dimension.
It's like every generation finds its own way to curate its sonic bubble.
Right.
It makes you wonder if we're becoming more isolated from the shared soundscape of our communities.
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
But the listener doesn't just focus on the negative aspects of technology. They also acknowledge the ways in which it can enhance our listening experiences and even help us connect with sound in new ways.
So it's not a simple black and white issue.
Oh.
It's about finding a balance, right?
Yes.
Using technology mindfully to expand our sonic world without losing touch with the real unfiltered sounds around us.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And this thoughtful approach to technology is just one aspect of what makes this listener's journey so fascinating. They're constantly seeking a deeper understanding of sound, not just as a sensory experience, but as a force that shapes our emotions, memories, and even our sense of self.
You know, in the beginning, we talked about how this journal is like eavesdropping on someone's ears.
Right.
But it's becoming clear that it's so much more than that. It's like we're getting a glimpse into their mind, their heart, even their soul.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And as we delve deeper into their reflections on silence, you'll see just how profound their insights become.
Okay, I'm ready for those profound insights.
Okay.
Bring on the silence.
All right.
So we were just talking about the listener's changing relationship with silence, especially as they deal with tinnitus.
Yeah.
You know, that's got to be tough,
Right.
having that constant ringing in your ears.
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
They describe it as having a huge impact on how they experience quiet spaces.
I can imagine.
Places they used to find peaceful now feel almost unsettling because of that internal noise.
Yeah, it's like your own body is betraying your desire for peace and quiet.
Right. But what's interesting is that even with this challenge, they don't give up on exploring the concept of silence. They write about seeking out different kinds of silence, like going for a walk in nature or spending time in a library.
So they're not just looking for the absence of sound.
Right.
They're seeking out specific environments.
Yes.
Where different kinds of silence can exist.
Exactly. They even describe going into an anechoic chamber.
Oh, wow.
You know, those rooms designed to absorb all sound.
I've heard of those.
They say that before their tinnitus, they found those chambers disorientingly silent.
Wow.
But now, because of the ringing, there's no such thing as a truly quiet space for them anymore.
That's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It makes you realize how much we take our sonic environment for granted.
Right.
How something like silence can become a luxury you can't always access.
It's a powerful realization.
Yeah.
And it leads them to explore the idea that maybe true silence doesn't even exist, that it's always relative to our internal and external soundscapes.
That reminds me of that John Cage piece, 4 for 33, where the musicians just sit there silently.
Right.
And the music is actually the ambient sounds of the room.
Yes.
It makes you question what we consider silence.
Oh, really?
And how our perception is always shifting.
Exactly. And this listener is actively playing with that idea, becoming super attuned to the subtle interplay of sound and silence in their everyday life. They even compare wearing noise-canceling headphones without music to an anesthetic dulling everything.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's like they're craving a certain amount of sonic input.
Right.
Even if it's just the hum of their tinnitus. Yeah. Makes you wonder about the role of sound in our mental and emotional well-being.
Absolutely. And as they pay closer attention to the sounds around them, they start to notice how sound shapes their perception of time and space.
There's an entry where they talk about how the rhythmic passing of cars creates a sense of flowing movement, while the sound of rain transforms the world into a softer, more muted experience.
Right.
It's like they're experiencing their surroundings in a whole new way.
They even start using musical terms to describe these experiences, like comparing the passing cars to hairpin phrasing or the rain to a gentle background wash.
Wow.
They're hearing the world as a kind of symphony.
Right.
Noticing the melodies and rhythms in everyday sounds.
It's amazing how this kind of attentive listening can transform even the most mundane experiences
Right.
into something beautiful and meaningful.
Exactly.
And they don't just find music and natural sounds.
Mm-hmm.
There's a funny entry where they describe a near collision with someone on the street,
Oh.
resulting in uh, a micro duet of surprise and embarrassment.
I love that, a micro duet.
Right.
It highlights how our vocalizations, even unintentional ones, can become part of this larger sonic tapestry.
Right.
Creating these fleeting moments of connection or sometimes dissonance with the people around us.
It makes you think about all the little sonic interactions we have every day.
Right.
Without even realizing it.
Uh-huh.
And speaking of interactions,
Yeah.
I was struck by the entries where they talk about the impact of technology on their soundscape.
They express both fascination and concern about how technology is altering our relationship with sound.
Right.
They're worried about the constant hum of air conditioners, the intrusive nature of notification sounds, and even the way noise-canceling headphones can isolate us from one another.
But they also find beauty and wonder
Right.
in the possibilities of new technologies, like spatial audio and AI-powered sound processing.
It's a complex relationship full of contradictions. On one hand, technology gives us more control over our sonic environment than ever before.
Right.
We can curate playlists, block out unwanted noise, and even create entirely new soundscapes.
But on the other hand, it's also bombarding us with a constant stream of digital noise. And it can make it harder to connect with the natural world and with each other.
And I think this listener's journey shows us that it's not about rejecting technology altogether.
Right.
It's about using it consciously and mindfully, being aware of its potential to both enrich and diminish our sonic experiences.
It's about finding that balance between control and surrender, between curating our own sonic world and being open to the unexpected sounds that life throws our way.
Beautifully said. And ultimately, I think that's what this listener's sonic journey is all about. A quest to understand the power of sound in all its complexity, to appreciate its beauty, to navigate its challenges, and to find meaning and connection through the act of listening.
It's been such an inspiring deep dive.
Yes, it has.
I feel like I've learned so much about sound. About listening and even about myself.
And we hope that listening to this deep dive has inspired you to pay closer attention to your own sonic world.
To notice the sounds you usually tune out. To explore the stories they tell. And to discover the richness and beauty that awaits when you truly open your ears.
Thanks for joining us on this sonic adventure.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone.
Until next time, keep listening.